Okay, hello chess players. In this video I'm going to talk about something that very few people will actually talk about, and they certainly don't talk about it in the right way. I'm going to talk about confidence in chess and how important it is, how to maintain it, how you can sort of nurture your confidence, make sure that you don't lose confidence during a chess game, but also just maintain confidence throughout sort of your chess career so that you can play better chess and so that you can approach the game of chess with a professional attitude and you can get those results that you need. Anyways, if you like content like this, you want to see more of it, please hit that subscribe button and click on your notification icon as well. Anyways, there was a game in my chess career that I won basically just because I was supremely confident when I played the game. And at the time, it was probably maybe the most important game of my chess career up to that moment. And maybe even looking back, it was probably the most important game of my chess career, period. I was trying to make master at the time. After I played this game and after I won this tournament, I got my rating up over master for the very first time, so it helped me get my master title. But on top of that, it was just very important in terms of where I was at in my life. I was, trying to get better at chess, and I was very committed to it, and I was putting a lot of work and a lot of effort into it. Anyways, the game started with one e4. My opponent played e5, knight f3, knight c6, and then we had bishop to b5, a6, bishop a4, d6. So it was a modern Steinitz variation. My opponent in this game was an international master who was rated over 2,500 at the time by the name of Victor Adler. And the circumstances of this game were kind of interesting. I was playing in the St. Paul Winter Open round 4, and I had to win that tournament. And I mean, I had to. And definitely in my head, I had to win the tournament. I had to win first place. And there were a lot of reasons for this. Number one, of course, was trying to get my master title. I was trying to establish myself as a player. I was trying to gain respect of the chess playing community, in that area, to try to get them to respect me as a strong player. Which of course happened after this tournament and happened after I got my title. But there were more reasons than that. At the time, I was making my sole living off of chess, and I was not making a whole lot of money, and I actually hadn't even eaten like a decent meal in a while. So I was literally hungry going into this game, and I needed to win this game just to buy a decent meal and to pay rent. So I mean, I was very serious about winning this game and very committed to it. Now, before the game started, I had looked up Victor Adler's openings in this game and reviewed a couple of his previous games. Databases that we had back in 2004 were relatively rudimentary, but players as strong as Victor Adler were still on them. And I had noticed that he was having trouble against this one particular variation, and he'd lost every game that he'd had against it. So I figured, okay, well, that's what I'm going to play. So the game continued d4, e4, knight d4, bishop d7, and then I played this move pawn to c4. When I played the move, I could tell that he was like a little taken aback when I played the immediate c4 because he was at least a little bit familiar with my play up to that point. He'd been watching me play in other tournaments, and also keep in mind that when I told people that when people asked me, yeah, how was I going to do against Victor? I think my response was just something very dismissive, like, "Well, I'm going to beat him." And then I think somebody, Joe, actually said, "Oh, well, how are you going to beat Victor?" It was my friend Joe Longan, who's a master as well. He said, "Oh, how are you going to beat Victor Adler?" And I said, "Well, I don't know." I said, I mean, objectively, he's a better player than me. He plays, his tactics are better, his openings are better, his end games are better. I said, but I have to beat him, so I'll just beat him. And that's that's where my head was at. But it brings me back to an expression that we hear in other sports, and it was I think it was in football. It was Mike Ditka. He said, and this is one of my favorite quotes ever. He said, winning is a habit, and unfortunately, so is losing. And he had a beautiful thing that he said about it too. He said, you don't do the right thing some of the time. You do the right thing all of the time. You don't win some of the time. You win all of the time. Winning is a habit, and unfortunately, so is losing. And it's such a great quote. But it definitely applies to chess. It applies to any sport. It applies to any game. It applies to life. And actually, when you're trying to nurture your abilities in anything, one of the things that you have to nurture is your confidence. Now, in spite of what people think about how confident you're supposed to be or how confident you're not supposed to be, and this is why people don't like talking about confidence, because confidence often gets conflated with arrogance. If you tell people you're going to win, that's arrogant. They don't like that. But the truth is, if you go into a chess game, at least in your own head, you should think that you're going to win. Otherwise, why are you there? Why are you sitting at the board? If you don't think it's a possibility that you should win, you shouldn't even, sit down and play. So what you need to do is you need to nurture your own internal confidence. Don't worry about the external stuff. Don't worry about people thinking that you're arrogant. Try not to verbalize that you think you're going to beat absolutely everybody that you play. But focus on internalizing your own personal confidence. Build your own confidence in chess. And the way you build that confidence is by winning games. If you can show up to tournaments and you can win games and you can get into the habit of winning, and this is why winning is really, really important in chess. If you get into the habit of winning, now you're in the habit of winning. You have the confidence. You know that you can go out there and you can beat people. Now, when I played Victor Adler in this game, I'd won every single tournament that I'd played in for the last 6 months. I'd gotten first place. So I had that confidence. Now, maybe I hadn't played against players the caliber of Victor Adler, but everybody that I'd played against I'd beaten. So at that point, you've almost forgotten how to lose. So my confidence is sky high. But Victor Adler, he's playing against me, and all of a sudden I play a move against him where he's never won a game against it. His confidence is a little bit lower now. I have never won against this move. What am I going to do? So his internal confidence, it's a little shaken right now because he's never won against this before. So he's got to do it for the first time now. So anyways, the game continues. Knight f6, knight c3, g6, bishop g5, and then bishop e7. Now at this point, the position is already major advantage white, so this is just like huge opening preparation success for me. Just the fact that I could get major advantage white against Victor Adler. And of course, at this point moving forward, one of the reasons that I haven't shown this game over all the years that since this game has been played is I hate the way that I played this game from this moment moving forward. Because when you put this on the engine, I made so many mistakes. This game is so atrocious just for that reason. I would do so many things differently. For one thing, after I castle, and I don't necessarily have to castle in this position, I could actually just take on c6 right away, but we'll go ahead, castles. I continued with the move bishop to h6. What I should have played in this position was just capture on c6 twice, like takes, and then just play pawn f4. And this position is already apparently just major advantage white, according to the engine. But instead of that, after castles, I continued with this move, bishop to h6, attacking this rook, forcing the rook to go to a much better square, forcing the rook to go to e8. And then I continued with pawn to h3, I guess because I didn't want that bishop to get harassed with the move knight to g4. I wanted to give my king some lift, etc. But already the engine just gives this as something close to equality. Like it says that Victor after h3 can equalize basically with the maneuver knight d4, bishop d7, knight d7, queen d4, bishop f6. The engine just gives us complete equality. So already I've just given up equality. But again, I was kind of lucky, engines, we didn't all have engines back then, and of course we were both out of our preparation. Victor played a totally different move. After I played pawn to h3, he shuffled his queen over to this b8 square. He's preparing to play pawn to b5, so he's coming up with this active plan. I play the move bishop c2, and the engine once again gives me a major advantage. Now again, it was probably better to just take on c6. Actually, for the last three moves, I could have just taken on c6. Like bishop c6, bc6, queen d2 is given us major advantage white, according to the engine. So I played bishop to c2, and then there was a bunch of maneuvering between the two of us. He played bishop d8, putting pressure on e4, king h1, safety move, and then b5. So now we have a really critical moment in the game, and I didn't really know what to do here. I knew that I had to win the game. Again, in my mind, this is a must-win game, period. I don't care that I'm playing against an international master. I don't care that at the time he was rated, over 300 points above me. I just have to win. And, being in that situation in your head, like that level of confidence is what you want to go into with every game, because I'm in a position where I have to make a decision, and I have to approach this decision in some sort of logical way. Now, apparently, according to the engine, what I should have played was I should have played knight c6, bishop c6, and then cd5, ab5, b4 is slight edge white. I didn't understand this position. I'll be honest, even sitting at the board, I didn't understand this position. I didn't understand everything that was going on. I didn't understand the pressure on e4. I didn't understand the queenside majority. I didn't understand, what types of attacks black could get against my king. Looking at this position now, I have a much deeper understanding of what's going on. But at the time, I had a very limited understanding of what was going on. And I knew that, though. And that's the thing about being confident and knowing that you're going to try to win, is that knowing your own limitations. Like I knew I was out of my depth. I knew I didn't know what was going on. Confidence, in a way, makes you humble. It makes you recognize your own limitations in a way, at least internally. Just believing that you're going to win doesn't make you arrogant. Believing that you're going to win means that you believe in yourself. It means that you believe that you're going to find a way to make things happen. But it doesn't mean that you believe that all your ideas are right. It doesn't mean that you believe that you know everything. That's arrogance. That's when you get into trouble, when you think that you have nothing left to learn and you think that you know everything, then you're going to lose every game. That's arrogance. That's what you need to stay away from. In this position, I knew that I didn't understand the position. I knew it. So I said, well, if I don't understand the position, I might as well not understand the position and be up a pawn. So I went ahead and I played c captures b5, a captures b5, and then knight b5, because I'm like, at least if I'm up a pawn and I have a passed a pawn, he has to prove the position with black. He has to do something. So if I go into this endgame up this pawn, I'm going to win. So he has to do something. So he did something. He played knight to b4, and then I immediately start making... So we're both actually making mistakes. We both immediately make a whole bunch of mistakes. It's a complicated position, and like I said, we weren't allowed to play with engines, so... But he played knight b4, and I immediately make this error. I play knight to d4. Apparently it was better for me to play a4. It was already just major advantage white, just keeping the pawn, and he doesn't have enough for the material, as it turns out, at least according to the engine. So I played knight to d4, not as good. He played knight c2, queen c2, and then he plays rook a5, basically trying to rook lift his rook from a5 to h5 and get a vicious kingside attack, which I completely allow with my next move. I should have just played bishop f4, and apparently that's major advantage white. I completely allowed the kingside attack. I play knight b3, he plays rook h5, I shuffle this bishop back to f4, we have g5, and then again, apparently I'm still major advantage white if I bring the bishop back to h2, according to the engine. Instead, I brought this bishop back to g3, which is significantly weaker. He continues with queen c8, and I didn't know what to do in this position, so I figured I'd just force him to sacrifice on h3. I played pawn to f4. And this puts pressure on black to basically sacrifice or resign, almost. He doesn't really have a huge option. I'm threatening to open up the position against his king just as much as he's threatening to open it up against mine. So I knew that he would either figure out the complications or he wouldn't at this point. And at this point, he was starting to get into time pressure. So I had every chance of beating him in the complications just because maybe he would miscalculate something or maybe he would make a mistake. But he plays very, very correctly. He took... And he should be winning. I should be talking about how I was confident in this game and I lost anyway, which can certainly happen. You can be supremely confident and still just lose to a better player. Just because you're confident does not guarantee victory. But bishop to h3, then we have gh3, queen h3, and then bishop h2. And then he played knight to g4. And now my position really is I am completely lost here. But I found a move. I played rook f2. I found a move that wasn't resigning. I played rook f2, and again, I'm not used to losing, period. So I'm going to find moves that continue to survive, and I'm going to press his time pressure, and I'm going to make him figure out what to do against me. I'm going to try to play the best moves, even though my position is objectively lost. So he plays g captures f4. I play rook g1. Again, I'm going to find ways to put pressure. He plays pawn to f5, knight d5. He's playing incredibly well. All of his moves are very good, but he's taking time to make them. He plays rook takes e4. I play rook takes g4. Just trying to eliminate some of these threats. Queen takes g4, queen d2. Pawn to f3, knight to e3, queen h3, knight to d4, bishop to g5. Great move. Rook f3, just absolute desperation at this point. And at this point, in serious time pressure, he simplifies into an endgame that he's fairly confident is winning. He plays the move queen captures h2. Now, the endgame is winning, but he's got very little time. He's got to make like 8 moves, and he was down to seconds. He was basically just playing on the delay on the clock. He was down to seconds on his clock. It did have a delay, but, it was not a huge amount of delay time. He did not want to lose on time. So he played queen h2. He has a easy win. Rook d4, game over, resigns. I can't play queen d4, obviously, because queen h2 is mate. So rook h2 is it's the end. And I can't really fight back after that. Like rook h2, I guess I could play rook h3, but then just, rook captures d2, rook captures h5, takes, and he's up a whole bunch of stuff. This is not very good at all. So rook d4 should have just been the end of the game. he didn't find it, he didn't play it, he instead played queen h2, which on the surface actually looks kind of similar. We simplify into an endgame. Queen h2, rook h2, king h2, bishop e3, but then I get to take that pawn. So it's not quite as bad. I am down a pawn going into this endgame, but it should still be a winning advantage for black. But he continues with bishop b6 and time pressure. The engine does give this as major advantage black. I continue with rook g3 check, king f7, and then I play rook to b3, which puts pressure on that bishop and sets up a shot which he missed. He played the move king f6, and this, of course, immediately falls for knight d6, which instantly equalizes. The point being that if knight d6, cd6, I have rook b6. So now I've finally equalized in the final seconds of the game. We're on move 38. He's got 2 moves to make time control, and he's only got a couple seconds left on his clock, and his confidence just got shaken really badly because he completely missed this move. And that's what happens when your confidence gets shaken. When your confidence gets shaken, you don't trust yourself anymore. And when you don't trust yourself anymore, you're a lot more likely to make another mistake. Now, Victor Adler, he's an experienced enough player and a strong enough player that if he'd had even just an extra 3 seconds to recover his mentality, he would have easily found the best move right here. But he didn't. He only had 3 seconds on his clock with like a couple second delay. He only had enough time to process that he missed this tactic. He didn't have enough time to regain his confidence and find the best move. So he just played something really rapidly. He probably played the move that he felt he should have played last move, which was instead of king f6, if he'd have played, of course, king e6, I can't take on d6. So when he played king f6 and I took on d6, he felt this sudden urge to correct himself, and he played king e6, which is the move he should have played last move. But of course, pause the video, see if you can find it. I captured his rook. So he just basically hangs the rook in one move because I shook his confidence. So I won this game purely based on confidence. I was able to maintain my own personal confidence against a person rated 300 points higher than me, and I was able to shake my opponent's confidence a couple of times throughout the game. First off, by giving a position that he'd never, by playing an opening against him that he'd never actually won against before. And then I also shook his confidence several times throughout the game when he missed tactics in positions where he was in a lot of time pressure. And throughout the game, my confidence, even though I played terrible moves in some cases, I was playing chess to the best of my ability. My abilities just weren't as good as my opponents. And but my confidence was never actually shaken. I was never to the point where I started making worse moves because I felt like, I was never down on myself. I never felt like I was a bad player. I never felt like I was doing poorly. Objectively, to this day, and I'll just say this very honestly and very humbly, after the game, I can be humble. During the game, I can't. During the game, I have to believe I can win. I don't think I should have won this game. I think Victor Adler played a better game, and I think he was a better player during this game, and I think he should have won. I got very lucky, but in chess, if you don't believe you can win, you can't. So if you believe you can win, you have some chances. If you don't believe you can win, you have no chances. So I gave myself a chance to win this game, and I managed to win it. And I guess that's the lesson to learn from this game. And I hope this video helps you with understanding how confidence works in chess. I hope I didn't over-explain it, but I certainly hope I didn't under-explain it either, because it is an important concept, and it is something you have to help maintain and nurture in yourself as a player. You have to go out there and win games, and you have to nurture your own confidence and try to make sure that your own confidence doesn't get shaken when you play chess, because when you go into a chess game, you have to at least believe that winning is a possibility. Otherwise, you're going to find a way to lose. And if you believe that you're going to win, you're going to try to find ways to win. Anyways, I hope you found this video helpful. Thank you very much for watching.